Are you familiar with FBI Special Agents Kyle Seraphin?
I'm familiar with the name.
Is that yes?
I'm familiar with the name.
Let's bring in Kyle Seraphin. He's the FBI whistleblower who helped expose government censorship of our First Amendment rights.
Now, we only have this memo because a recently suspended FBI agent called Kyle Seraphin brought it to the public, and we're grateful that he did. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
He's the host of something that strangely is called the Kyle Seraphin Show.
Kyle Seraphin, I can't thank you enough for speaking out. I knew you guys were out there, and I knew it was just a matter of time, but you got a lot of guts putting your face and your name to this. You're doing a service on behalf of the American people, and from the bottom of my cracked and broken heart sometimes, thank you very much.
Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today is Tuesday. It is September the 10th, and it is debate day. Debate night, I guess. We're going to go through some very exciting news. Kamala Harris, who is running for president of the United States of America, has dropped the platform that she intends to run on yesterday. This is how dumb the world we're living in is right now. We had a guy who was president for 3.5 years, running for president like you'd expect, told that he was physically fit, told that he was mentally tough, that he was with it and available for tasking for the next 4 years. And then he just disappeared. They just put him in the wheelchair. And I actually saw a meme of somebody, and they just wheeled him right off the cliff. And so the runner-up jumped in with all the speculation that all of us had that maybe they could put a Michelle Obama or somebody else. Someone was going to get swapped in. Nope. They went with Kamala Harris, and then they figured out what she was running on after everybody has already supported her and not supporting her. They got not excited about her almost immediately, and that's when they dropped the platform. So we're going to go over the platform today, which I think has some interesting fodder for Donald Trump. It's not going to be completely nuts for him because it turns out the things they're running on have been written on my pad for a long time. It's the only way the political left runs right now. So we'll discuss how much of those are correct, and they fleshed it out. You guys will see if you're convinced. I don't think anybody here will be. But you might as well know what those who are on your block that are deciding to vote for the other team are hearing. Or probably not hearing, because most of them probably have no idea. What we keep finding out, and we found out in our call-in show, is that people on the political right are interested in issues, and the person is secondary. Donald Trump may be a small exception to that, but generally speaking, it's the issues that are driving the position. And people on the left are interested in the person, the personality. They have no interest in the politics of issues and outcomes. So it's very strange. It's a weird time to be living, and we're going to go through some of that. Other stuff I want to touch on today. This guy, Tyreek Hill, who's a Miami Dolphins player, got pulled out of a car. He was driving a Lamborghini. So I want to show you guys some video from that, only because I think it's interesting that we're always talking about race in 2024. And that seems absurd to me. A couple other things we got here. The algorithm, the glitches, and sort of the fake information that's coming in, only really on one side. I do think that we hear a lot more of what the left is doing versus what the left hears from the right. Yes, we're able to punch a bunch of holes in it, mostly because it's illogical and nonsensical. But we do that. Before we get too deep into the weeds and really launch into today's show, let's do an ad read for my friends over at My Patriot Supply. Folks, you don't need me to tell you that life is precious. You guys all know that. It can be taken away in just an instant. It can get dangerous out there. It's why I always say prepare or repair. It's also why I have the 4-week emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply at my home. We actually have 3 of those for each of us. We've got everything that a family could need during a crisis, including 2,000 calories per day. There's plenty to go around. With looking out there and seeing the possibility for social unrest, government crackdowns, or an attack on the homeland, you want some food that's going to last for up to 25 years and be ready whenever disaster strikes. We've already seen mass panic in our own lifetimes, and only in the last couple of years. Do you guys remember the lines for toilet paper? It wasn't that long ago. I'm not taking my family's safety for granted, and neither should you. Right now, you can get $50 off the 4-week emergency food kit. It's the one that we keep. Again, it's preparelikekyle.com. That's the website, preparelikekyle.com. There it is on the screen. Save $50 right now for a 4-week emergency food kit. Not everybody's going to go and do 90 days. It depends on what your readiness level is, but having something in the cabinet is not a bad idea. My order showed up very, very quickly. It took very little time. Ships for free. That's a big deal to me. 4-week emergency food supply. Find it at preparelikekyle.com. Again, preparelikekyle.com. What's the alternative? The alternative is repair, and that's no fun. Okay, so let's do the Hill thing first. I thought this guy was younger than he is. Apparently, he's 30 years old. So if you make it to be 30 years old in the United States, if you're a 30-year-old man and you're driving around in a Lamborghini, I already think that you're a bit foolish. But there are people who drive in Lamborghinis in my little town. I've seen them. They're often purple or metallic and weird. It's a thing that people choose to do with their money. And it turns out we live in this brilliant place where you can actually do that. That's what the United States is all about. You're allowed to do things with your money that are foolish. On Sunday morning, Miami Dolphins star wide receiver was stopped by a crew of police officers. He got pulled over by some bike cops who got out of a black sports car that retails for $300,000 with the driver's side butterfly window still propped up. The officers placed him in handcuffs. That's not exactly what happened. And I will show you the body cam. I'll show you what was portrayed and sort of the way that he came from it, and then the actual thing that happened. And I actually stole this directly from Brandon Tatum, who was a police officer, and he's a black man, and he's going to give you his commentary on it. It's the same that I have, which is stupid. It's a stupid choice. In any case, of course, there was body cam footage. That's the good news. This columnist called Candace Buckner is basically saying, what would happen if he wasn't a football player? Well, the same thing would happen. If you act like a moron, you get bad outcomes. And his outcomes were bad specifically because he did something stupid. And the stupid thing is, he disobeyed what are known as lawful orders. There are certain times when police officers have the ability to give you commands, and the expectation is that you will follow them or be in violation of the law. I don't want cops giving me unlawful orders. I've received unlawful orders from my law enforcement agency, and the courts have actually upheld that. However, if you're driving really fast in a very fancy car, doesn't matter where you're going, it doesn't matter who you are. If you do something stupid, like roll up your windows on the police officers that are tinted out black so they can't see inside of them, you are now presenting what is called officer safety issues. And officer safety issues get handled very aggressively. I've seen cops come up with gloved hands on and break a window, shattered it, the side window, right out of a car. No problem. Why? Because they need to be able to see in there for their safety. Every single cop, every single law enforcement officer, state highway patrol, investigative folks, people that did my job, we were not first responders, but the possibility of going up on a vehicle or doing a vehicle assault or doing a vehicle search, when you come up on somebody and they roll up their windows, it is the driving equivalent of putting your hands in your pockets and turning your back to the officer. What it does is it shows that you cannot see what they are doing. And that's when weapons get produced, and that's when bad outcomes happen, both for the cop and for the driver. And if you're too dumb to know that at 30 years old, with millions of dollars in salary, then you deserve to end up in handcuffs. You act like a moron. You get treated like a moron. And what's funny is I've seen people that are like, there are two types of people that have decided to be very upset about this. There's people on the right that are saying all cops are fascists and all law enforcement is wrong. No, and I don't default to the position of law enforcement. But they do get some credibility. Why? Because they're keeping dangerous people out of your homes on a regular basis. They are dealing with the garbage in society. That's what they have to do. So they get a little bit of grace. When they step over the line, we call it out. If they don't, if they act appropriately, then they do. And we just call it as we see it. The other group of people are people on the political left that are calling out the race card and they're scrying about it. It's women on The View. It's like the liberal women are the worst. They continue to do this kind of thing. So let's play the video of this is what I'm going to call the angle. This is the angle that is being trotted out, that it's a black man driving a nice car in America, and that's how racist we are. So you can see this part of the body cam footage, and a lot of people have, and this is the sort of the leftist narrative, if you will.
I'm just being a black man, that's it. I'm just being black in America, bro. That's all it is.
We're dark too, brother. We're people of color too. Don't play like that stuff here.
I'm just being a black man in America, bro, in a nice car. That's it. That's it. Let me just write me my ticket, man. So do whatever you gotta do.
Yeah, he's just being a black man in America. You notice the engine is still running? You guys want to have really good outcomes? Turn off the engine. Pull over and turn off the engine if it's reasonable. If you got little kids in the back and it's 100 degrees outside, you need to have the air conditioning running, so be it. Roll the windows down. I've been in way more dangerous situations with cops than most people. Why? Because I used to work in plain clothes just like this, carrying a weapon that nobody could see, and I had all kinds of stuff in my vehicle that would be an indicator of potential threats to cops. I had body armor, sometimes unmarked body armor, sometimes police body armor that they didn't recognize because it wasn't from a local department, didn't have a badge on it. That's one thing. I also used to always have a weapon on me. A lot of times I had an AR-15 at my knee because that's where I used to drive with it so that I could keep it at the ready if needed. And I'm driving a vehicle that doesn't look like a cop car that has cop stuff in it. And that is very unsettling to a police officer. Far, far, far more dangerous. And the way you do it is you roll down your windows when they come walking up and you keep your hands where they can see you because they are in a very dangerous situation. Stopping people in traffic is the single most dangerous thing. It happens every day. And there are people that get complacent and they die when they get complacent. But you have absolutely no idea whether you're going to come up on a fellow officer, you're going to come up on an agent, you're going to come up on an armed individual who works in the private capacity and simply has a weapon on them because that is their right as it's a God-given right in America. Or the possibility is you're going to come up with someone who has just done something that you don't know about as a cop, and that person does, and they are not going to go to jail today. That's a real possibility. And it happens all the time. And when people roll up windows and start acting shady, then bad things happen for either person. This is what really happened. This is Officer Tatum's program. He's doing his kind of reaction video here. I think it's spot on, so I'm going to let him say it. Sometimes other people say it very simply. But watch how ridiculous it is. If you're listening, you're kind of missing out on the visual, but essentially the officers walk up. By the way, they're the Latino officers. That's why you can hear in their accent. They're Latino. They have darker skin. They're not black. I'm sure they're probably Cuban or Dominican or something like that. They knock on the window because the guy actually rolls his window up on them, which is an absurd thing to do. In any case, here we go.
Don't knock on my window like that, man.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window like that, no.
Like what?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up? I have to knock to let you know I'm here. That way you can lower it and talk to
Just
you.
get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm finna be late, gang. Do what you gotta do.
Keep it down. Hey!
Y'all can't do nothing like you supposed to. Why? Bro, you the one speeding. Don't knock on my window like that, bro. Don't knock on my window. What? Come on, y'all, just get your job and get out of here. What? That ain't how a traffic stop work, bro. You speeding. You're probably going so fast you're criminally speeding, which is a crime. They can arrest you and put you in jail. And you roll the window down and you roll the window back up. Why you mad at them because you speeding? Don't knock on my window like, roll your window down. Why you roll your window up when they come next to you and you get mad because they knock on your window?
Keep your window down. Hey, keep your window down. Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out.
Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Damn.
Roll the window down or we gonna make you get out the car. Get out of the car. He still don't get out. Then they lift, they get sick of playing with y'all. You got all these cops in because you silly. You lying to the world. Now the body worn camera came out. I don't have no idea why they put me in handcuffs. The cop told you. He actually warned you. Then he told you, I'm going to pull you out of the car.
That's enough. It's very simple. Lawful orders. Didn't follow them, you could be arrested. That's just what happens. I've seen guys center punch those windows. There's guys that I know that'll carry a tactical window break right there, and they'll punch right through that window the minute that you try to roll it back up. Why? Because the possibility is that you're going for a weapon, and that's going to put your life in danger because he's going to have to kill you. You're in a car, and the officer's standing out there in traffic. There's no reason to be that way, particularly when you have that kind of money. You think you could afford some manners and a little bit of knowledge about how the system works. Everybody has been pulled over by the cops at some point in time, and nobody likes having to do it. When you're the one who's speeding, it's your fault. I can't tell you when the last time I got pulled over was, because I don't speed. There's no real upside to it. You want to know how to not get pulled over? Don't be driving around in a Lamborghini. Drive in a minivan. You'll almost never get pulled over. In any case. That's all I wanted to say about that. I also wanted to kind of correct the record. I guess yesterday, the video that we showed of the woman eating a cat, and there clearly was a woman eating a cat, was not a Haitian person. And this has caused all kinds of outrage, from the DeSantis type on the right to the political leftists who are defending illegal people and folks that have run over to this country and have no business being there. Look, Haiti is not nice, and their culture is garbage, and the information we get out of there is non-trustworthy. However, apparently that woman was not Haitian. At least she's not a recent Haitian. She's an American citizen, and she was apparently on drugs. So the person that was eating the cat was some random black lady in Ohio. So let's just correct that. That's what it appears to be the case. It doesn't say anything about from the fact that there are residents complaining about the problem of a bunch of people getting dropped into their city, all of which is completely valid, and the idea that things are going missing there, like animals in the park. Whenever the police tell you one thing and the mayor is out there making the statement, we have no reports of this, there is no record of this, that doesn't mean that it's not happening, people. Any of you guys have seen it. The FBI has told you that crime is going down in this country, but we know for a fact that it's going up in each individual municipality. So I take things with a grain of salt, but I'm also willing to correct the record when I say something that's incorrect. And it turns out that that lady who was eating the cat, which is a crazy thing to do, I guess maybe that's bath salts or something, so be it. That was inaccurate information, and I wanted to correct it. What is accurate is what J.D. Vance was saying, which is that they overwhelmed this tiny little town. It's not tiny, I guess, 55,000, 60,000 people. They overwhelmed it by putting a bunch of people there. 25% of the population increased up, and none of them have the native values of Americans. They don't have a cultural understanding of how we do things. There are people like the police or the bus incident that we showed where kids have actually been killed because of terrible driving and all kinds of reckless behavior. So that's a problem. And then they've also added like a housing crisis. This is the stuff that I'd like to see handled. And I think Donald Trump has every ability to do so because he's got J.D. Vance talking about it in his ear. There's no reason that this sort of thing should not be what the Biden administration, and in this case, Harris running for president, should have to answer for. You've put incredible pressure on the housing market by bringing a bunch of people here that don't belong here. And we didn't plan on accommodating them, and they don't have money. And you're going to introduce government funds. We're going to go over their platform just after this, but here, let's just play a little bit of J.D. Vance talking about it. He's talking about, I think, where the rubber meets the road for most people, which is where it interacts with their pocketbook.
Chairman Brown, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to submit a letter for the record from the city of Springfield and our state, the southwestern part of our state, which I think highlights a very real example of this particular concern, straight from the horse's mouth itself. Now, this letter, I want to quote from it. Springfield has seen a surge in population through immigration that has significantly impacted our ability as a community to produce enough housing opportunities for all. Springfield's Haitian population has increased 15 to 20,000 over the last 4 years in a community of under 60,000 previous residents, putting a significant strain on our resources and ability to provide ample housing for all of our residents. And end quote there. And Mike.
No objection. So
thank you. In my conversations with folks in Springfield, it's not just housing. They're trying to build 5,000 new housing units, which is a very Herculean task in a town of about 55,000 people. But it's also hospital services, it's school services, there are a whole host of ways in which this immigration problem, I think, is having very real human consequences.
That's it. There's consequences. When you bring people in, it changes the game. It changes our culture, which we discussed. It changes the values and the number of people that don't understand what the laws are. You're going to get far more people that don't understand how they're supposed to behave on a traffic stop because they didn't grow up here. We got enough people that don't know how to behave on a traffic stop that did grow up here, and they have no excuse. I used to drive a really, really cheap garbage Toyota Celica. It was I think it was an 89 Toyota Celica GT. It was like one of the first cars that I bought with my own money. And it was red, and it had those like flip up headlights. It looked like junk. And then also one of my friends was a complete a-hole, and he sprayed it with a fire extinguisher. So it got red. The red had all this white powder on it, so it looked dusty and crappy all the time. You could never get that stuff off. He sprayed it inside too, by the way. And thanks a lot, Chris. When that happens, you get pulled over, and we got pulled over in that car on a fairly regular basis. And it had like some of that real crappy, like bluish tint. You guys remember that stuff coming out of the late 80s and early 90s? So you'd roll up the window, and like it was very dark inside, and we got pulled over because it looked like a hoopty, and it looked like some garbage that somebody, who was up to no good was driving, I suppose, because I got pulled over fairly frequently. 17 and 18 years old, it happened a lot. So what? I never got in trouble with it. I may have gotten some tickets every once in a while, like if I was speeding. But generally speaking, I was very polite. We rolled down the windows. How you doing today, officer? What can I do for you? Real simple. You guys, if you break the law, especially if you break the safety requirements, which is what's going on in that case, you're going to deal with some real bad stuff. Again, I think JD's point is that there are consequences when you start bringing these people in, and some of them are far-reaching. It's the only reason why I keep saying that Democrats are first-order level thinkers. They feel bad about somebody else's scenario, and they have absolutely no idea how it's going to impact them. And something that my wife and I were talking about the other day, this feminine instinct, which is the difference between the political right, which is sort of the masculine, doesn't mean that you're masculine if you like the political right. I'm just saying it's the masculine ethos. It's based on specifics and facts. It's reason-based. It's mechanical. And then you have this sort of feelings, this emotionality, this altruism that lives on the political left. And they have to be in balance. That doesn't mean you can have one without the other. You really can't. You'll have this very disinterested, sort of nasty, Germanic sort of culture maybe. But America has this warmth to it because of the political left, but it needs to be kept in check. And it is out of balance at this point. And we all know it. So if you don't care about what the facts are, if you don't care about what the impact is, then we're going to find ourselves in this place where one side is running us off the cliff with this suicidal altruism, this fatal sense of compassion that actually negatively impacts themselves. And as my wife was describing it, it's this instinct to inconvenience myself, even though I know it's wrong, because I want to convenience somebody else. And when you do that to people that are non-American, that are not from America, that have no right to be in America, you're literally going to impose on our citizenry for someone else's problem when we haven't even handled our own first. It's quite interesting as we get into the information that Kamala has put out as her platform, which, by the way, if you go to KamalaHarris.com, the first thing they do is they hit you with a fundraiser. And then if you go and you say continue to KamalaHarris.com, the second thing they hit you with is a fundraiser. No wonder they're raising money. That's all they have. Nobody cares about the issues. It should lead with the issues. So here's CNN. And I find this very interesting as well. Harris is bracing for the most critical moment of her political career at debate with Donald Trump. How do they even phrase this, by the way? The most critical moment of her political career at debate. All right, whatever. It seems like a very clunky way of phrasing that. Her joyful campaign will be hit with the brute and blunt force of reality, a debate with Donald Trump, the most menacing political foe of modern times. Is he though, really? Like, Donald Trump is not that amazing at this. He's mean and he's plain spoken, but there are far more eloquent, there are far more capable debaters. They have more facts at their control. They're quicker on their feet. What Donald Trump does is he just says like what every man might be thinking, and I mean that by like sort of like a lower level of intellectuality, but an accurate level of how people on the street think about things. Meanwhile, you've got Word Salad Smith up there, the word salad chef, who's going to try to bring this to fruition. The saddest thing for me is that this is the most critical moment in her whole career. She's actually never really been tested. She's run in California. She failed the first time she got on the national scene. Do you guys recall? She failed miserably. She was unable to gather primary votes. Perhaps that's the reason why she was shielded from a primary here. Because if there was an open primary of other Democrats, there are plenty more capable politicians. But they've got who they've got, and I'm not sad about it. I think that she's actually in many ways easier to attack, even though she thinks that she's not. She has that fatal confidence that I used to see in FBI female agents. This sort of fatal confidence of the never tested. She's never really been put to it. So this will be fun. And apparently she's never actually even met Donald Trump in person. Also quite interesting. The really fun thing for me is that she's never actually done the job of president. Nancy Pelosi was caught on a mic the other day saying that the job of the vice president is really not that difficult. There's not much to it. And Kamala has been doing that job, which is to basically say, show up and have her name on the ticket. Meanwhile, we've got Donald Trump, who did the job for 4 years. So we've got somebody's actual record, somebody who's going to have to try to deal with a record that she probably didn't have all that much to even weigh in on. And the one job or two jobs she's been given, dealing with AI, going to the root causes of migration and immigration into this country illegally, she failed at. So this will be an interesting little contrast. And I think if he does it right, what I really want to see, I want to see Donald Trump ask her, why is Joe Biden not standing here? I'd love for him to just hammer her on the fact that you defended the man who's in the office right now over and over again. Can you explain to the American people why you lied? He can't apparently ask questions. So we're going to get into the rules of what it is. And of course, here's a little thing from my buddies over at Catholic Vote, which I encourage you guys to support them if you're so interested. CatholicVote.org. Get the Loop. This is one of the articles out of the Loop. This is their own reporting from their Catholic Vote news feed. Kamala Harris releases the full policy platform one day before the debate. Nothing like making sure that nobody has time to dig into it. Of course, Trump has plenty of people to do so. If you guys want to support Catholic Vote, this is where you do it. CatholicVote.org. The website is on the screen. Their social media handle, which is at Catholic Vote, on the screen. I'm going to be talking to some of them a little bit later on today. They are a top Catholic advocacy group for faith, family, and freedom. I have somebody that keeps putting comments out there asking me why I'm burdened by the Catholic Church. I'm not burdened by the Catholic Church. They've been around for 2,000 years. And these people are my kind of Catholics, which is to say that they understand that there are flaws in the institution, but they also understand that the tradition is very important. It is the reason why all of you have any Bible or church. It was put together by the Catholic Church. If you have a Christian Bible and you are in the Western tradition, this is where it came out of. So anyway, these are the OG type of Catholics that I hung out with. People who understand faith, family, freedom, American values that are out there they see the exact same problems in the main institution as everybody else, and they're still working from within to try to fix it. So if you guys want to support them, definitely do so. Definitely get the Loop. You're missing out because it's got really good stuff. Okay, so they released the full policy platform one day before. Before we get into that, I want to actually get into the rules for the debate. And here's a funny little meme. The same people that are telling you that Kamala is a great candidate this week were the ones telling you that Joe Biden was fit for the job last week, which is to say people on the left lie. And it doesn't matter where they're getting it, whether it be CNN or the hard left on MSNBC, the sort of Joe Scarborough types. They're foolish. They should be held to account for it, I think. That would be the right way to do it. So here's what the rules are going to look like so we understand the format, and we are going to do a live stream. I think Steve Friend's going to jump on and do commentary. This is based on your comments from yesterday. Here we go. So this is the only little piece that I wanted to read out of that article here from CBS. The debate begins at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So for those of you who wanted to know, that's where it is. It's being hosted by ABC News, so there you have it. There will be multiple different live streams available, and hopefully we can steal one of them and we can talk about it. There's going to be no live audience, and there will be no read opening statement. It's going to launch right into it. These are the rules that were released by the network. I guess these are the things that were being discussed in the background. The candidates will each get a 2-minute closing statement, and there was a virtual coin toss, and Donald Trump will give the final thought. So he gets to do it, which means that Kamala got to choose the podium. Very weird. What a weird little thing for the coin toss. It seems like they're trying to turn it into a sport when it's not. They're going to get questions, and they're only going to answer questions from the moderators. They are not allowed to ask questions of each other, although, of course, when you phrase something or bring somebody's record up, then usually they get a chance to do a rebuttal, so we can expect that. And the hosts are going to be from ABC. It's David Muir and Lindsay Davis. It's going to be a 90-minute debate. There will be 2 commercial breaks, so we'll break away from those. Candidates will have 2 minutes for each of their answers, 2 minutes for rebuttals, and an additional minute for follow-ups or for clarifications when they are mentioned, and that is that. And the microphones will be muted when the candidate is not speaking. Okay? So that's fairly straightforward. That's kind of like the rules that we saw last time. Let's talk about the platform. Just released as of yesterday. I think I actually may have a better way to look at this, but let's start it right here. America needs to be kept safe, secure, and prosperous. This is the lead that they have. Whatever this means. Here we go. It says Kamala Harris grew up in a middle-class home, the daughter of a working mom, because her dad wasn't there. That actually is very important. Yesterday, I talked about single mothers. I don't celebrate single mothers because I don't celebrate single parenthood. Outside of widows and widowers, it is a failure on some level. It's like the suboptimal outcome. Not because I care about whether the mom has kids or not. I care about whether kids are raised in a 2-parent household because that is the best outcome. So I care about the kids. And she didn't grow up in that, which means she does resonate with some people because of it. It also means she's got this slanted view, which lacks the masculine. It sounds like her dad was not really much a part of her life. She rarely discusses him. These are the main pieces here that are thrown up on. Thrown up. That is the right way to say it, isn't it? The first point that they have, and I'm going to assume that this is in order. They want to hammer in on the economy because that's the biggest thing that they can actually try to tackle and act like they're not part of Joe Biden's failure, despite the fact that they are. It's an opportunity. They want an opportunity economy and lower costs for families. This is the buzz line, but there's almost no substance in this. So let's start from what we've got on the screen. Tax cuts for middle-class families. They don't always define this, but it looks like they're going to call anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year middle class. And their plan is that they're going to give Americans tax cuts. I always find this to be strange. They also want to expand the tax credit, which is to say giving money back. That's buying votes. They want to give $6,000 tax cut to families with newborn kids. They're going to have this sort of like program where they're going to give you either your own money, or if you don't make enough money, they're going to give you money back. Again, while the government should probably be only in the business of incentivizing children, I don't think that we need to be paying people with tax money, nor do we need to be doing that. Like, how about just lower taxes across the board and let people make good decisions with their own money? If this stuff is too small to you, don't worry about it. I will read the stuff that's on there. They believe that they're going to create this thing called the new way forward, making the tax system fairer and prioritizing investment and innovation. Again, very, very little for specifics. They want to set a tax rate of long-term capital gains for people who earn more than $1 million a year at 28%. It's currently at like 23%, but the previous pitches they were doing was somewhere in the 30s or the low 40s. So they wanted to tax millionaires more. And now they're saying they want to tax them more, but not as much as they previously did under Biden's ideas. Because they believe that the government encourages investment. No, the government getting out of your way is what encourages investment. Everything about these people is always backwards, and that's the sad thing. They seem to believe that the government has a right to do a lot of these things, and therefore the government must do things, when in reality, the government needs to get out of the way of human beings doing the jobs. Make rent more affordable and home ownership more attainable. Everything about this is backwards as well. She goes into her records of suing banks. Fine. It didn't end up in a better. It didn't end up in better outcomes for Californians. This was her record as Attorney General. So they want to do this first-time home buyer credit, $25,000 to help with down payments. All of that stuff is stupid. There already are programs in most states. You can do it through FHA. You can do it through any number of federal and state programs to be able to get access to buy housing. You have to go through the hoops, and then you have to have credit. But there are numerous programs because the federal government has weighed in on this, which is why housing is so expensive. At least one of the reasons. There's inventory issues, there's inflation issues, and there's the fact that the government just meddles in it. And I'm a beneficiary of the only one that I don't really hate as much, and maybe it's because I'm a beneficiary of it, but the VA does a pretty decent job where the government will co-sign on your loan, but you still have to have creditworthiness to be able to buy it. So if you serve for a, whatever it is, 4-year, one enlistment or more, and you come out with an honorable discharge and you get a VA rating of a disability, then you can actually use that to go out and buy a house. But there's all kinds of additional things. The government wants to make sure that you're buying a home that is safe. So VA inspections are kind of a pain in the butt. It comes with all these strings. It does end up costing a little bit more money, but the end result is somewhat good. And it's good because you get service members being able to buy homes, people that went out and served the country. I don't know why first-time home buyers out of nowhere get it, but that's what they want to add. The worst here is the thing we talked about the other day, the small business credit. They want to do a startup deduction for new businesses from $5,000 to $50,000. These are just money numbers that are thrown around. They don't mean anything. All the money should be discussed in terms of this is what we are adding as benefit for the American people, and this is how much we are asking you to pay for it. That's not what they do. They assume a budget, and then they work backwards and tell you how much of your own money they're going to give back to you. There's a reason why people on the libertarian right say things like taxation is theft. Because mostly it's the government taking your things and then deciding what they're going to give you back. You guys can do this experiment with your kids if you want. It's like give them an allowance of like $8 a week, whatever it is. I don't know. I've got really little kids. So you give them $5, you give them $10. You give them the money, and then you immediately take the money, and then you tell them how much of it you're going to give back. I saw a dad doing this on like a TikTok video. And he was like, this much is for housing costs. This one is going to be your surcharge for energy use. This is going to be for the warm bath fee. This is going to be this and this. And by the end of it, it's like your $10 allowance comes down to like $1.25, and you can go buy half a pack of gum in this economy. And it's mean because it hurts the feelings of little kids who don't really get it. They're too young to really externalize this idea. But when you have someone that's talking about how they're going to try to grow small businesses, and they're specifically going to focus in on tripling lending to Black-owned businesses, and they're going to double the lending to Latino and women-owned businesses, how about businesses that just stand on their own 2 feet as businesses and the government gets the hell out of the way? We can't do that because they can't stand on their own ideas. They're going to bring down the cost of healthcare. You can imagine how good that's going to go. Government and healthcare has been very successful at raising the prices, so we'll continue that. They're going to strengthen Social Security and Medicare. There's only like a paragraph on there. It means absolutely nothing because none of these things, they're not within the power of the presidency to do. Almost none of these have like a roadmap along with them. They're just platitudes. Support innovation and American workers, sure. Provide a pathway to the middle class through quality, affordable education. This is another one that's truly awful. Putting more money into our education system. We spend more for our students because we have enormous bloated administrations. And for some reason, which I keep finding out over and over again, the people involved in our education system in this country are more interested in what their job means rather than the service that their job provides. Break away from this slide for a second. There was a time when educators thought that their job was to provide a service. And so the service was the justification for the salary. There are more and more people that are getting into the education sphere specifically because they want to make money in a job that is not particularly lucrative, but it is secure in the same way that people choose other government positions. They're getting into these jobs because people need jobs. It's this running theme that I have from this little conversation I had on the side of a road, pumping gas, some guy in New Jersey who was pumping my gas because I'm not allowed to pump my own gas by law in New Jersey and Oregon, and I'm sure there's some other states. If you guys want to put them in the comments, let me know. I'll add it to my repertoire mentally. It didn't provide a value to me, and it wasn't something that I'd be willing to pay for. I'm not really willing to pay for public schools. I don't want to do that. I would much prefer them all be privatized. We would get better outcomes. It's like asking, do you want to let your kid be raised by the DMV for 8 hours a day? I've seen how good the DMV is. It's not that good. It's a state-level organization. That's what most schools are funded by, state funds, which come from the federal government, and they are very little, like your property taxes are also going to subsidize it. Like, shouldn't we have more and more say in what goes on there? It's so bizarre. The party of quote-unquote democracy wants nothing to do with the democratic process whenever it involves them shoving their crap ideas down from the highest possible heights. It's why destroying the Department of Education is a brilliant idea. What does it do? How does it educate anybody from Washington, D.C.? So much of this stuff is bloat. And it exists because, quote-unquote, people need jobs. But not because it provides a service, not because it actually does something of value for those who are receiving said service. It's the massive inefficiency, and that's why we talk about things like self-licking ice cream cones. The cone actually only exists because it has a tongue and because there's ice cream, and the two feed each other, but it has nothing to do about the people that it's supposed to serve. How about the students? And the outcomes continue to get worse. That's why I like groups like Moms for Liberty, because moms get it. They know. They're out there looking at this stuff. So here you go. They're going to make it more affordable to get education. Again, this is just more giving money into university systems that are already overly dominated by leftists, $170 billion in student debt relief. This is buying votes, people. Buying votes with my money and your money. When I was at the academy at Quantico, I took my salary and I paid my wife's student debt, or my wife paid her student debt and I paid our living expenses in the house that I wasn't living in. Take your pick. It doesn't really matter how. Money is fungible, right? So it can be assigned either way. She worked at a job. I worked at a job. All the money I made, because my housing was covered because I was at an FBI academy, all of that money went exactly into solving our debt. And we came out debt free. That was a choice. We didn't get to see each other for 5 months. Responsible people make good decisions financially, and it allows you freedom later. Irresponsible people hope that somebody else will pay for their debt. They're going to do record investments in historically black colleges and universities, tribal colleges, Hispanic serving institution, and other minority serving institutions. This is a This is an identity politics salad of garbage, trying to buy votes from people based on their ethnicity, and it's disgusting. The claim is that more students were able to afford college because they increased the maximum Pell Grant Award by $900. When we're talking about college, that is in the tens of thousands of dollars per semester, not even per year. For state schools in most states, $900 doesn't move the needle, but they're very proud of this. So again, concrete numbers for people that don't understand what it is. Here's another thing I don't understand. Why on earth, and Donald Trump got baited into this, and I don't want to see it. They did the American Rescue Plan, which says that they're going to lower costs for American families by expanding high-quality home healthcare for seniors and people with disabilities and helping hardworking American families afford high-quality childcare. Do you guys know how backwards it is to say the government needs to get involved in the cost of childcare? Do you know why that wasn't always a thing? Because usually there was one parent working. Again, back to my single mom thing. There was one parent working and one parent was responsible for caring for the children and the household. That's what American success looked like. That was the American dream. And there were some atypical families where the dad stayed home and took care of the house. My wife's family was like that. And the mom went to work because she had a higher earning job. That's a possibility. I don't really care. I want to see children taken care of well. And what we are not going to see is children taken care of well when the government is getting involved in healthcare and trying to enable more people in the workforce, which only does one thing. It gives the government more access to your kids through government schools. Do you guys see how backwards all of this stuff is? And not one of these things, not one of them explains how they are going to fix any of the real mechanical issues, which is that they keep printing money through the Federal Reserve System. They're just sending these notes out there and devaluing our cash. So even though many of you might be making more money than you've made in this year, it's worth less. There's a problem there too, because the cost of goods continues to go down and you can get nicer things. I was watching, I'm watching 40-Year-Old Virgin. We just finished it up last night. And as we watch that, it's a real specific moment in time. It's post 9/11, I can tell that, but I didn't even look what year it is. Maybe one of you guys will throw it in the chat what year it was. They're selling flat screen TVs. Do you remember that time? It's before the flat panels, the LCDs that we all have today, which are cheap. And you can go to Walmart and get like a 60-inch for $350, which is amazing. That's an amazing deal compared to what we had. I used to work at Circuit City when I was in college. I remember selling like a 60-inch flat screen TV, weighed 300, 400 pounds. It was a huge tube, analog system with like the semi-digital overlay. And it would be 1080i if you got a really good one, the interlace, not the P progressive. So there was this huge, heavy thing. And so they were talking about it in the movie. He's like, yeah, I hired this like really cute girl and she can't even lift an iPad. I think he said an iPod because that was the thing. They didn't have iPads. And she couldn't ever lift like a 60-inch flat screen. The cost of goods has gone dramatically down. You'll notice the government doesn't regulate the cost of televisions. They don't regulate the cost of all kinds of consumer goods that continue to go down in price. I saw a video of somebody talking about how they had bought a 30-inch flat screen so they could watch the ball drop at the turn of the millennium, in the year 2000. It was $3,000 for a 30-inch TV. It looked absurdly small, and it was in their basement. Right? $3,000, which was a seriously decent amount of money at that time. More money than it would be worth today because we have inflation at a pretty high rate. And yet that's what people spent their money on when it came to consumer goods. I remember dropping a couple $100 on my TV with the employee discount, which was significant. And you had this thing and it was like, that TV is garbage today. And for a third of that money in real life, I could get a much better product. So we've seen consumer goods go down. Why? Because there's a competition there. The market is trying to vie for the best product solution to whatever the problem is that you have at the most competitive rate. They used to say that it didn't even matter what your product was. It was whether or not you could get access to those customers and present a value proposition. That's the case on Amazon. You can buy the exact same product from multiple different made-up Chinese brand names, can you not? It's whoever appeals to you in that marketing. So they are actually competing and they are running downward for pricing and trying to give you the value for it. Meanwhile, you have this sort of nonsense coming out of the Harris campaign. One of them, they said, is that they want to stop price gouging at the grocery store, like that thin margin. Like, these people have never worked in any business. They have absolutely no idea what margin is. And for your awareness, just since your political leftist friends will have it, at the end of every one of their little subsections, this subsection again is called building an opportunity economy and the lower cost for families. They have a Trump 2025 agenda, which Trump has already disavowed 2025, the Heritage Foundation project. So they're just arguing against themselves. This is another one. Safeguarding our fundamental freedoms. What did I tell you guys back then, months ago? It's on my pad. I had to go back in time on the page. Here's the things that they care about. Keeping an open border. White supremacy and racism is everywhere. Abortion for all. There's no flag but the tranny flag. The LGBTQIA agenda must be pushed. That's it. And then number 5, they hate the Republic and the Constitution, which is why they hate things like guns and they hate things like the Bill of Rights. Okay. Safeguarding our fundamental freedoms is the next section on here. This number 2 section. And what is it about? Abortion. It's right here. And civil rights. Remember what I said? Everybody's racist, white supremacy. There it is. They want to pass the John Lewis, what is it called? The John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Like, is there really a big problem with Americans not having access to the vote? I just don't know that it is. I've never heard someone say, I wanted to vote. I had all the ability and the time. I went out there and I was unable to vote. Like, they offer voter registration when you get your driver's license. And everybody gets a driver's license or an ID because anybody who wants to do anything anywhere in the world when you're a grown-up, like the 30-year-old man who got pulled over in the Lamborghini, you get a driver's license. You notice that guy didn't have any problem getting ID, right? People don't have a problem doing these basic things. They pander on the political left and safeguarding our fundamental freedoms to talk about abortion and then this claim LGBTQIA plus rights for Americans in healthcare and housing and education and blah, blah, blah. They want the Equality Act and they want a Voting Rights Act. This is their number 2 priority. Again, right off my notebook. It's right there. Let's close these ones up and kind of keep working our way through. Ensure safety and justice for all. What is that about? Of course it is. It's a euphemism for gun control, making communities safe from gun violence and crime. Never mind the fact that under the Biden administration, we've seen crime go up. Because that's what it does. It's absurd. They want to fix the border. Oh, this is my favorite line in here, actually. I'm going to read it to you. After Donald Trump killed the border deal for political gain, she, being Kamala Harris, and President Biden took action of their own, and now border crossings are the lowest levels in 4 years. Well, who was in charge at the 4-year mark? Oh, they've been in charge for 4 years. So they've just basically rated themselves against themselves. Meanwhile, they've had unbelievable amounts of illegal immigration coming in. And now what's going on? And you'll hear this, they basically redefine the terms of what is success. Rather than have illegal immigration coming or illegal aliens sneaking across the border, they're just taking those people they catch, flying them through a port of entry and making them come through the front way. Imagine if someone kicked in the glass of your house, they broke into your home, and then you're like, no, you can't just kick down the window. You have to come and knock in the door and then run into the house. So you take them to the front door, walk them out, and then walk them through the door. And you're like, now you've been invited in. They already broke in and broke the law, but we're taking them to the port of entry manually so that they can be processed, so they can put them in through the immigration system that they've created, which is wrong. And their claim is they want to hire more Border Patrol agents so that they can facilitate these people coming in, not because they're going to solve the problem. Meanwhile, none of these things, most of these things, need to be done by Congress. And Congress is the one that said, nah, they didn't vote on it. You know who's not in Congress? Donald Trump. Apparently, they're going to tackle the opioid crisis. That seems pretty wild. And the last one is, because this is just all made up, this is fantasy world, she believes that no one is above the law. She's going to ensure that no former president has immunity for crimes committed while in the White House. The Supreme Court is an equal branch of government, and they've already said that there's obviously executive immunity. It's not that you get away with crimes committed while in the White House. What they said is that some things cannot be charged politically as a crime. The end. What else we got? Oh, this one's good. This is foreign policy. Keep America safe, secure, and prosperous. Stand with our allies, stand up to dictators, and lead on the world stage. Well, you guys have been doing a bang-up job for the last 4 years. We've had 2 new conflicts kick off with a third possible. We're probably about to see China invade if Donald Trump doesn't win. That's the most likely. They're going to take in. I cannot believe they haven't done it already. China will take over Taiwan. So I don't know what this stand with nonsense is. Our allies stand with us because America is the preeminent group in NATO and the other allied groups. We fund a huge chunk of the UN. We fund a huge chunk of NATO. And for whatever it's worth, Donald Trump was the only one who actually got other people to start contributing. Meanwhile, they're going to now invest in our infrastructure and the strength of our military. Sure. Sure they are. Are they going to do any counterintelligence cases against the Chinese who are robbing us blind of our intellectual property? Because my friends who have worked in that space have told me that under the Biden administration, it's been a hands-off prosecution. Actually prosecutable cases that could be actually run are not being run, specifically because the Biden administration and the Biden-Harris DOJ doesn't want to. That's a real big problem. I hope that Donald Trump makes her answer for that. And then they pander to service members, veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors. The sacred obligation. In this, the one thing that is actually really pretty wild, let me throw this on the screen real quick. You have Walz, who he's the son of an Army veteran who served as Command Sergeant Major. You know what? I served as the supervisor of my squad for a couple of days too. It was a temporary role that he didn't earn. They're still touting this because they don't want to run away from the Command Sergeant Major thing and show that he had actually, whether you call it stolen valor or lied about his record, which is probably the most accurate. So they talk about the expansion of burn pit laws and coverage under the VA. The VA is a toxic mess at this point. And under the Biden administration, I was kicked out of the VA simply because I wouldn't go get a shot and I didn't want to wear a mask when nobody in the building was wearing a mask properly. How do I know? Because I was trained to do it, because I was a paramedic. I offered to draw my own damn blood in the parking lot in the New Mexico VA. And you know why I needed to draw blood, which I didn't really want to do anyway? So that I could catch some mental health services, so that I could actually document to the FBI that I was going under some stress because they'd kicked me out. That was literally the game. It was like, you need a doctor's note to show that you have some stress in your life. I'm like, okay. Can I go to my free medical health that I've earned through my service? No. You need to go through all this crazy intake stuff. And when I tried to get somebody to sit and say, hey, yeah, you're right, you are actually stressed. That's a really stressful moment that somebody took your job and accused you of things that are fake. Wasn't able to do it. That's my legacy that I have under this. You guys, if you have experience with the VA that's been decidedly better under the Biden administration, let me know. I'd love to hear it. You guys can hit me on social media. It's at Kyle Seraphin. You can join over on our locals. You can tell us over on locals because I communicate there quite a bit. KyleSeraphin.com. Sign up for that. Do the free membership. Do the paid. Take your pick. Join the community over there. Let's talk about it. I want to know who's having a better experience under the VA because that's what they said they're going to do. I think it's a throwaway line in this case. Let's keep pushing forward. Again, that's the end of it. They end with veterans. Of course they do. The best is that someone as dangerous as Donald Trump, you guys see this on the screen here. Someone as dangerous as Donald Trump should never be allowed to serve as commander-in-chief. They love this language, should never be allowed. Whatever happened to democracy, a-holes? Whatever happened to the point where the American people get to decide? They're proclaiming things. And they make these claims that he cozied up to dictators. You know what happened when he cozied up to dictators? No new wars. You guys know, not a big lover of Donald Trump when it comes to all things for the sake of Donald Trump. The outcomes are still better. If we're in a binary choice, the binary choice is not very difficult. It's really not. Or you can go with this. Open borders so they can process everybody to come in. They don't like the country, so they don't want to change it. You know the one thing? I want to go on one more little goofy rant here about the Second Amendment because they talked about gun control here. I am so tired of hearing politicians say, I support the Second Amendment. I don't need you to support the Second Amendment, and neither do you, because we're citizens. It's like we talked about with that lady the other day in front of the city council. If you're a citizen, there is no reason for you to support the Second Amendment. You've already sworn an oath, especially at the national level, but most of them at the state level as well. There is no reason for you to support the Second Amendment. You've already sworn to protect and defend it, to preserve that Constitution, including the Bill of Rights. You've already sworn to it. And what you've sworn to, which they seem to forget for some reason, is that it's a God-given right, not a man-given right. It's not granted by government. The government is sworn from infringing upon your own right that pre-exists the government. I don't need you to support the Second Amendment. Stop saying it. It's like, I support armed Americans. How about that? Let's try to change the language of the way these people look at it. I support Americans exercising their God-given rights and the government staying the hell out of it. And maybe that should also include things like housing and education and raising your children. Get the hell out of our business. It'll be very interesting to see. It'll be very interesting to see if Donald Trump can hone in on the basic claims. Abortion for all. He's not going to win anybody in the pro-choice camp. He's not. He's already gone on record and said he was the most pro-life president. He was at the March for Life for the first time. No one's done that. Own it, man. Own your record. Go hard. Americans are sick of what they are seeing. Americans are sick of seeing their money squandered and their time wasted and fake, weak, mealy-mouthed sort of answers. Just own it. Based Mike Lee, right? That's his Twitter handle. Own a government shutdown. I want to hear Donald Trump say, I'd like to see the government shut down for a little bit. It's not doing a great job. It seems pretty weaponized. It's locking up old women who may die in prison because they were out praying in front of an abortion clinic. And we're better than that. But our government is not. So let's shut it down. How about that? These people are clowns that we deal with. It'd be nice to highlight it. I've got a little clown show to show you guys before we shut it all down. And like I said, we'll do a live stream, so look for that. Let's see who we want to talk about. Let's talk about my buddies at Patriot Coolers real quick as we wrap up, and then I've got a video you're going to want to see. Patriot Coolers, it actually has to do with heat and cold. This is a 16-ounce coffee mug. It will not fit into your cup holder. This is one that should live on your desk. It's fantastic for keeping hot coffee hot, cold classes cold. I use it both ways. PatriotCoolers.com is the website. Promo code KYLE is the promo code to save yourself 10%. And yes, it's the same deal they give to veterans. And to those of you that might be active duty service members, you'll save the same 10%. But if you use our code, 1, it benefits us and they know that we sent you. And 2, you don't have to go and put your ID in and sign up for anything. You just use the promo code and you're good to go. 10% off, $50 or more is free shipping. Outstanding products that are designed with Patriots in mind. They don't say things like Yeti or Stanley or other weird things. They say things like Patriot, and they've got 50 stars on the bottom because we actually care about this country and we want to remember the good things about it. There's a lot about it that's good, and these guys make a product. They send it out of Houston, Texas. You guys will really appreciate it. Nobody ever says, you steered me wrong. Check out PatriotCoolers.com. I got a video. This one's just fun. I don't know why it popped up in my feed today, but I'm sharing it with you because it's funny. This is John Kerry. Do you remember John Kerry, the climate czar liaison clown? The man who flies around in a private jet? This is 2009. He's talking about a prediction 5 years into the future where we are going to have the first Arctic ice-free summer. John Kerry predicted in 2014, that was now a decade ago, that the ice was going to be gone from the Arctic. And then he gives his pseudoscience logic behind it. This is how I know these people are full of shit. Because they say it, and the internet's forever. So are the videos. Listen to this goofball.
In 5 years, scientists predict we will have the first ice-free Arctic summer. That exposes more ocean to sunlight. Ocean is dark. It consumes more of the heat from the sunlight, which then accelerates the rate of the melting and warming rather than the ice sheet and the snow that used to reflect it back up into the atmosphere.
Oh, is that how it works? Well, thank you so much, John Kerry. 2014 was the last time that we had ice in the Arctic, right? No. Just like 2010 was the time when the world was going to end, per Al Gore, who invented the internet. All of these people are full of crap. They all say nonsense, and they get away with it because dumb people vote for them. Don't be a dumb person. Educate yourself. If you want to go and follow up and check my math on what I just said, it's KamalaHarris.com. Yes, you can go to the website. It doesn't benefit them as far as I can tell. Go in there, click through all the ads where they try to sell you stuff, which is donations, and go read it. Just click on the Issues tab. It's actually at the top. Let me see if I can show it to you. I will show you the Issues tab. There it is. Okay. The Issues tab is right here. Click on Issues, and it'll take you to A New Way Forward. Her smiling face in a beige suit or a tan suit. By the way, oh, I didn't put it on the screen. There it is. The tan suit is an homage to the only scandal in the Obama era, apparently. Remember the tan suit thing? So that's what's going on here. Anyway, it's right here. You can meet Kamala, you can meet Tim Walz, or you can click on the issues, and read what they say. And then tell your friends, your liberal friends, and also tell your friends who are leftists. You probably won't interact with them in a positive way, but the key is not that you're going to convince the leftists, it's that you're going to convince the person that's hearing you talk, because you're going to be reasonable. And you're going to know what it is that they're actually prescribing. All right, I got a 5-star review for you all. Actually, I have 2 1-star reviews, because they're funny. So we're going to do that real quick. Let me check this one out. So, number one is coming from, I got to sort these out on the screen a little bit. That's better. Okay. Number 1 star, talking so fast. It's from Ginmar426. Kyle, why do you talk so fast? It sounds like you're on speed or something. Take some deep breaths and slow your speech rate down. Ginmar, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to slow my speech down. You can adjust the speed, especially if you're listening to Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or so on. You can adjust your speed by changing it to 75%, and then you'll be able to understand me. The audience enjoys it. That's why we do it this way. You're the first complaint, and you are going to be ignored, but I did want to at least acknowledge it because it's funny. And OSU Cowboy says, Jerry Michalek, 1 star. Didn't realize FBI agents were better shots than Jerry Michalek. I'm not a better shot than Jerry Michalek. Jerry Michalek can shoot a handgun at 1,000 meters. I've seen him do it. And I can shoot a slightly bigger target than a balloon at 200. So he's 5 times better than me minimum, I would say. If you don't know anything about handguns, maybe don't wade into the discussion about people who actually do train with their craft. Jerry Michalek is a super freak human legend. If you guys don't know who he is, he's a sponsored shooter. He works with Smith & Wesson. I have one of his performance center pistols, actually. It's outstanding. I've done really fast draws with it. He shoots things faster than human beings can pull triggers. He's just epic. Never would I make the claim to be better than that. But if you don't know what Jerry Michalek can do, maybe you would think that I'm claiming to be better, and you're foolish. All right, I got a palate cleanse for you here, which is funny. We talked a little bit about race relations, so this is kind of a little amusement that I got out of it. This popped up in my feed as well, and I wanted to share. This is the inverse of black slang and white slang. Make sure you listen all the way to the end, because the end is actually where it gets silly. But guys might have an interesting point. I've never thought about it in these terms. We want to expand your mind. This is something you guys can laugh about at a water cooler or on your own sort of family discussions about people using slang. Just things that make you go, enjoy.
White slang is just black slang in reverse, and here's my proof of it. You better not. I wish you would. Say no more. Say less. It's been a while. It's been a minute. Deal. Bet. Shut up. Keep talking. Swing by. Pull up. You got the right one, buddy. I ain't the one. Something's off with them. Yo, they on one. Hey, let's go. We gone. He's a cool cat. That's my dog. Hey, what's up, my dude?
This part of the show could not be participated in due to the amount of melanin the creator has. He still wishes to be invited to the cookout if that's possible.
The British voice, for some reason, talking about the racial problem is fun. For all of you who joined us in the chat, thanks so much for joining in there. I appreciate it. I like when people tell me that they listen to me at 2x. You must have a hyper processor between your ears. So good for you. If you guys want to support the show, make sure you've liked the video. Make sure you've subscribed wherever you are listening to it. And you can also subscribe over on our over on our Locals channel. The easy link to get there is just my name. It's KyleSeraphin.com, or if you're in our Rumble chat, you'll see that Rose often posts it. Again, go to Locals. It's the Kyle Seraphin community. Really fun community. People are sharing some really neat stuff over there, and I'm really enjoying it. I keep telling my wife, I want to spend more time there than Twitter. KyleSeraphin.com if you guys want to support us on there. And look for this to go as a live stream. I'll try to book it out shortly with Steve Friend. It's 9 Eastern is when the live stream, or when the debate is supposed to start, so we'll try to kick it off a little bit before then. Thanks for joining us this morning. God bless all of you. Go out there, have a great Tuesday, and we will see you again this evening for those who join us.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram at Kyle Seraphin.